Good afternoon. Today is September the 9th, 2020. This is the ServiceHero Show. 365 days of awesome. Celebrate success through service. My name is Tamara Hunter. I am your host, and this is the show where we share the inspiring stories of those that are inspiring others. So let's do this. Today, we have a service hero that is ever so appropriate for what today's date is. We just said September the 9th, 2020. We are celebrating today a man that is definitely not only a service hero, he's actually an American hero. I would call an American hero. He's been out there serving our country. He then came home and started serving our country in other ways, working with our youth, working in our communities. And he has recently joined our hashtag Time to Move, and has been educating us in doing that too. So I want to welcome Ruben Lowing. Thank you for being here, and thank you for serving our country.
Well, thank you, Tamara. Thank you for having me on. It's I started following you through Jason Cisneros. That's a whole story how that even happened. But you're doing your walk in the morning. I'm catching up with you, and I'm doing my walks in the morning. I'm a little bit different time zone, so I do a little earlier than you sometimes.
Yes, and then we ended up finding out there was more in common than we even knew when we started doing a connection and talking with each other. And that's what I absolutely love about social media. And I want to recognize those people that are coming to join us right now. We have Helene Wilson. Helene, one of our ambassadors, our ambassador of the chat, first ambassador of the chat within our buddies. We have one of our senior ambassadors, also very involved in the hashtag Time to Move. We have Sherry McQueen, and we have Cinnamon. Cinnamon, love it that you're here, one of our buddies. And I want to welcome everybody that is going to be coming from all the different social media and the E360 TV platform. All right, so let's get into this. Ruben, I really want to talk about your story, because your story is one that in so many different ways, it runs parallel with different areas of my own life in different, from different chairs, if you will. However, when you started talking about the fact that, well, you report in on hashtag Time to Move, what do you usually put in there in the comments?
Okay, so I always say Ruben on station. And that comes from my first platoon. I was in the Persian Gulf during the Iran-Iraq War, and our main mission was interdicting Iranian boats, ships, mine layers, and we would fast rope on moving ships from helicopters, and at night, and you'd have to get on the radio and tell everybody, hey, you're on station, you made it, you didn't fall off into the water or stuff like that. So I'd say, Ruben on station. So I do it all the time.
Yes, you do. And in fact, that's what caught my attention in the very beginning. It was like, Ruben on station. Oh, that's really cool. And then I started noticing Ruben on station more. And it was like, okay, I need to figure out what this means. And then you brought up one time, we were talking, we have discussions in the morning, and you brought up about being a SEAL. I think it was, I know what it was, because we do bed check, make your bed, make your bed, change the world, and so bed check. And so then you started talking about the whole idea of bed check, and you brought up that you were a SEAL, and that was fascinating to me. And then from there, it got to be more interesting in the fact that you learned a lot of the calisthenics, a lot of the education of the exercising, the health and wellness, a lot of the things that you're really into, you've been into, and it actually came from almost from the time when you were a child, because you got into boxing at a very young age, right? There's a story in regards to your whole getting into boxing.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
Oh goodness.
Okay, so I grew up in a crazy, lot of domestic violence in the house. My dad was very harsh and abusive to my mom, and I remember being 4 or 5 years old. I have a sister who's like 13 months younger than me, and standing there with her watching my dad beating my mom and trying to smother her to death with his bare hands. And I'm thinking I'm gonna watch my mama die right in front of me. And my sister made the first move. He took his hand off her mouth for like a second, and she started running. We both ran in and wrapped ourselves around my mom, and I fought my dad off. And from that point on, when I would play fight with my dad, I wasn't playing. I was like 4 or 5 years old trying to take my own man out, and it caused me to be very aggressive. And mom and dad got divorced when I was 7, and she married my stepdad right away. He was a construction worker, and they had like a barbecue and all these big. I remember all these big construction workers standing over and looking down at me like, "What a little runt." And then one guy took it upon himself to teach me the fine art of pugilism, and tells me how to stand with my left hand forward and how to hold my hands up, and I had my little skinny arms, and he's hitting me. It was hurting my arms, and right that minute he goes, "When you see an opening, hit me." And I'm like, "Pow!" I busted him right in the mouth, and he was so drunk. He's like, "Oh, that's good." And he did it all over again, the same exact, everything was the same. The same thing, hit my arms, and it was hurt. And he said, "When you hit over and hit me," and I'm like, "Pow!" Busted him out again, and he was too drunk to drive home. And he stayed on the couch, and to this day, I've never heard anybody snore so loud in my life. Rattling the rafters in the house, and he gets up and he goes in the bathroom. He's got a fat lip on the top and a fat lip on the bottom. And he's like, "Who'd I get in a fight with?" And my stepdad laughed, goes, "Reuben." And I have a stepbrother that was from Chicago. We used to go down there and visit him all the time. And there's like the biggest toy store in the world's in Chicago. And we were there. My mom bought me a speed bag. And my stepdad put it up, and he put it up in the basement high enough where I had to stand on a chair to hit it. But I hit that thing every night from the time I was 7 years old till I was 16. And what had happened is I developed those neural pathways. I had very fast hands, and I was still a little guy. And one day somebody was picking on me, and we were at baseball practice, and he a lot bigger than me hit me in the stomach. The next thing I know, I turned his face into a speed bag, and I'm like, "Oh, look what I do!" And then I saw Howard Davis Jr. fight his first pro fight after the 1976 Olympics, and he went with the seasoned pro guy, fought for the title a couple times, went 6 rounds, didn't get a glove laid on, and I'm like, "That's what I want to do." And I started. My mom got me some boxing gloves, and I had them with me everywhere I went, and I'd spar anywhere, anytime, with anybody in a parking lot or whatever, right? And I joined the Navy because I was going to join the Marine Corps, because there was a guy named Jeff McCracken who I'd see on USA Wild World Sports on the weekends, and I went knock on the Marine Corps recruiter's door. Nobody answered, and the Navy recruiter stuck his head up to his office and said, "Come here, they're out to lunch. Come here, I'll talk to you." I'm like, "Listen, pal, I don't want to be in the Navy. I don't want to be in a ship 5 and 6 months at a time with a bunch of men. I want to box. I know the Marine Corps got a boxing team." And he goes, "I boxed at boot camp. I signed up that day."
He said, "What? What about boot camp? That you can box at boot camp?" He
said he got a box at boot camp. I signed up that day, right?
Fishing.
And then I get to boot camp, and they make you go to get your physical, and I had to go down to Detroit. So it was like a 6-hour bus ride to Detroit to get my physical and take the ASVAB test. And I scored really high in the test, and I just figured I had a smart pencil. Because I didn't do very good in school. When I graduated from high school, I wasn't sure I was going to get a diploma or certificate of attendance. And so I go talk to these recruiters. I go, so what do you want to do? I said, I want to box. They go, you can't box. I go, you ever see me fight? I'm like, no. You have to try out for the team. Well, that makes sense. And I go, so what do you want to do? I said, I'll be a regular sailor. They go, no, you don't want to do that. Well, I took 3 years of drafting in high school. I go, I'll be a draftsman. They go, well, we can't guarantee you an A school for that. Well, I got really good grades in the trigonometry part of Algebra 2. And they said, I'll be a surveyor. They go, dude, this is the Navy. Everything's at sea level. And I'm like, oh, well, what does the test say I should do? I said, well, advanced electronics. So I wanted to be an aviation electronics technician, but they said, don't pick that as your first one. Make that your second choice. So I picked this. I didn't even know what it was. It was a TD, and a tradesman what it was called. I checked that. I didn't know what it was. I just checked that first, and then I get to boot camp, and I'm the athletic petty officer. I can do more push-ups than anybody else in the company. I was that all the way through basic training. Then end of basic training, they say, come out with what you do. And they said, that was a TD. And I didn't even know what it was. And he says, oh, you guys are lucky. I'm like, what? Well, there's no sea duty.
There's no what?
There was no sea duty.
Oh.
You didn't have to go on a ship.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
My job was working on flight simulators. But I was like 10 months of A school in Millington, Tennessee. And the Marines had a side of the base was theirs, and they had a gym, a boxing gym. And so I would go spar with the Marines. And there was a guy named Roberto de Jesus. His cousin was Esteban de Jesus. He was from Puerto Rico. The first guy to ever beat Roberto Duran, and he was a lightweight, and I was a featherweight, and he was like 32 years old, and I was 18, and we were sparring, and I was working on cutting the ring off, and he was working on slipping punches, and I threw a jab and I missed and he hit me, and I threw a right hand and I missed and he hit me, and I threw a left hook and I missed and he hit me, and it got me mad. I'm like, well, miss this. And I threw like punches in a row, and I missed every one of them except the last right hand, and I hit him right in the butt, knocked him out. He's laying on the ground with his eyes wide open and a smile on his face and a hurdler stretch. I was out cold. I didn't know I could hit that hard. I knew I was fast. I just didn't realize I could hit that hard.
So we've established the fact that you really love boxing. I'm going to show a clip right now that was actually an article that was done for Veterans Day about you, and it's going to tell a little bit more of the story, guys. So we're going somewhere with this. So I'm going to bring this up, and then we're going to visit after. Uh-oh. Well, something happened. I don't know what happened there. So we've got an issue with our film. However, we can tell the story, the two of us, and that is when you were talking to the reporter in this particular piece, you shared about, and let's see, what I can do is I am going to bring up some pictures that I have prepared for this, and let's do it this way. So let's see here. This is your.
That was my platoon. That was in Chile in 1989, like July 1989. I was deployed to Panama, but we deployed from Panama to Chile for an exercise. And
right. Okay.
Some parachuting with the Chileans in Chile.
And they don't know. We haven't established the fact yet that what team this is. So in the story that we were going to be sharing with the clip was that you wanted to box. We've established that. you were also, because of all of the athletics that you were really good at, you were good at swimming, you were good at a variety of different things, and so they wanted you to possibly, they noticed your ability with the athletics, and they wanted you to be either in one of two different teams at one time. And again, all roads for you were leading back to boxing. So you chose to go on to what team, if you will, within the Navy to then be able to eventually someday possibly box?
Well, they were looking for volunteers to be a lifeguard, and at that time I was in Pensacola, and I had already connected with Roy Jones Jr. and Roy Jones Sr., and so I was training with them. Roy was like 6 years younger than me. He was 12 and I was 19, but we were about the same size. Like
Okay.
he was 100 pounds, I was 125 pounds, and he was like grease lightning. He was so fast, and we were sparring partners for like 4 years. And I was going to get out of the Navy and turn professional, but nobody was really making any money at the time. And they asked for volunteers to be a lifeguard. So I volunteered. There was a Navy diver and a Navy SEAL. They were putting us through our training and our physical fitness and the swimming and running and all that. And I was the only one that could keep up with them with push-ups and running. And the Navy diver tried to recruit me into the diving community. And to me, I'm like, divers are just underwater mechanics. I don't want to do that. I want to box. I want to go to the Navy box team. He goes, oh, go to the SEAL team. They'll send you the boxing team. Well, that's the hard way to do it, but that's what I did. And I didn't make it the first time. I went in. I didn't understand like recovery time. And somebody told me if you could run a marathon, you could do anything. I think I could do anything. So I ran the All Navy Marathon, and that was hard. And I went to SEAL training like 2 weeks later, and so it was I didn't know about recovery time, and I get into Hell Week. So Hell Week is like the fourth week of training, and this is February in San Diego. And people think San Diego, yeah, that water gets cold in February.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
all the time.
Yeah.
I was so cold. I'm from Michigan. I've been like 60 below zero, but I'd never been colder in my life than I was in February in San Diego. And so in the chow hall, instead of eating, I would go right to the hot coffee and chocolate machine and try to warm up, but it wasn't giving me fuel in my body. So I went like 155 pounds, like 128 pounds that week. I coughed so hard, the outside white part of my eyes was totally bloodshot red, and they pulled me out of the class early Friday morning because I had pneumonia, and I was coughing up blood and everything.
My.
But they let me stay with the class. My performance dropped off terrible. I failed like 11 time runs in a row, and that back then you had to come back that day and make it up, or you were out. So 11 times I'd fail in the morning and come back and have to pass it in the afternoon. And then I failed 12 and a half weeks of training. I failed an evolution called pool comp, where they pool harassment. They kicked me out, and I went back to I got orders back at Pensacola, but in a different phase. I worked in the physical fitness department of training Navy pilots and their crewmen, physical fitness and boxing. Right. And the way I got the master chief of the command was a Navy SEAL. I told him I wanted to go back to SEAL training, and he said, well, we'll put you in the survival department. You'll be around some other Navy SEALs that were working there. I go, well, what will I do? He says, well, you'll teach them how to run the cross country course and the alpha course, and we teach boxing. I go, did I tell you that I boxed? And I became the primary boxing instructor for Navy pilots and air crewmen. And I just worked out all the time, and I ran the cross country course a couple times a day. I run the alpha course a couple times a day. I teach a couple classes of boxing. And then I go to the boxing gym at night and train with Roy Jones Jr. and Roy Jones Sr. I just like worked out all the time. I reapplied for SEAL training 7 times before they let me back in. But when I went back in the second time, I learned a lot about like nutrition, because I would teach classes on nutrition and heat stress lectures, things like that. So when I went back the second time, well, they let you eat You eat 4 times a day. As long as you keep eating, the instructors leave you alone. And every time I just eat nonstop carbohydrates, man, to fuel my body. So I weighed like 140 all the way through Hell Week, but I was very functional compared to everybody else. Everybody else, their energy level dropped off. They're like their brains turned to oatmeal, and I still had my faculties. And I ended up smoking it the second time going through training.
And so this is where a lot of what you've been sharing with #TimeToMove and what caught my attention is that you understand a lot of the nutrition, you understand a lot of that, and you're sharing that out now. I want to go a little bit further into what we didn't get to hear with the clip, and that is when you got into your SEAL training, you became a part of the platoon, you then go out, you trained for 3 years for a very significant mission, didn't you?
Yeah, from the time I got to SEAL Team 4, which the day I checked into SEAL Team 4 was the same day that Sugar Ray Leonard fought Marvin Hagler.
Everything's around boxing.
It's like,
I love
like April 8th, right? And in 1887. And from right from the beginning, we started doing rehearsals for the Panama invasion. Okay. And then I ended up going to my first deployment. Was I was a walk-on to the All-Navy boxing team. This is kind of really wild, like manifestation, right? The day that I got pinned, the Trident, and became a Navy SEAL officially after going through 6 months of SEAL training and 6 months of probationary training, advanced training. Then you go through a board, and then I became a Navy SEAL. On that same day, I had my first fight with the All-Navy boxing team, and it was in Little Creek, Virginia, and all these Navy SEALs were there from SEAL Team 4, SDV Team 2, SEAL Team 2. And I got up in the ring, and I hadn't fought for like 3.5 years, but I sparred a lot. And I had in my mind what I wanted to do. I wanted to go all around the ring one time completely without the guy touching me. So whenever he got close, I'd stick something out there. I was missing him by like 1.5 foot. Looked like I was shadow boxing in the ring all by myself. But when I got to my corner, then I was set to fight. So I'm like, ready to bring my shoulders around. I'm going to sit down on my punch. I'm going to put a lot of speed on it. And he thought I was going to run, and he came at me. I hit him so hard, the first punch I hit him with, he was flying through the air in the sitting position and bounced across the ring. And all these Navy SEALs, when they raised my hand, they came up the ring and carried me out of the ring on their shoulders like in the movies. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, well, what do I do next? So the next goal I had was to go to combat. And so I actually had a slot for the Olympic trials in 1988. I'd fought the #1 ranked lightweight in the country. The guy that won the first berth in the Olympic trials, named Anthony Suggs. He's Anthony Suggs Sr. And now he knocked out Kennedy McKinney, who later went on to become the gold medalist in the '88 Olympics. And we had a battle. We had an epic war. And at the end of the fight, he knocked me down the first punch he hit me with. And I got back up and I just tore into him. And at the end of the fight, I'm standing there grinning, and he's got his head hanging down. And when the referee raised his hand, we were both surprised. And I'm like, yeah, we know who won, don't we, Tony? And I didn't hear anything from him after that. And I had to make a choice between going to Olympic trials or to my first deployment to the Persian Gulf. And that's what I chose to do. And then.
So you end up with the SEAL team. You end up, and you really, in the interview that we didn't get to share, you talk about the fact that it really was a well-oiled machine, your team, and that you could depend on how all of you working together and training like you did. It was an unbelievable experience in that right now, there's so many people that are saying we need to be able to work together. We need to be able to make this happen. We have 9/11 that we're going to be remembering on Friday. There's a lot of different things that are going on. We have a pandemic that's going on. We have a lot of different avenues and roads that are out there. And the SEAL team that you were on, you shared in this interview that you guys, how many guys were there on the team? There was
there's 16.
16, that's it.
Men in a platoon.
Right.
There's two squads of 8. Right.
So then you were talking about the fact that you had all of you, and it was a well-oiled machine where you could have a focused mission, and that you all were able to align together to get something done. And then
what I say is that, I never thought I would, it didn't occur to me that this would be something I missed, but when I got out, I came to realize that what there is in the SEAL team is the ability to get 16 guys all focused on the same thing at the same time, making it happen. It's like unheard of in the civilian world. It's just, and you like, know each other's thoughts. I mean, it's just amazing how well you get to know each other, and with that, how you know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you just can make some things happen. It's amazing.
And we need that more than ever. And that's why I really wanted to be able to share this story right now, because it's inspiring. So you then go on to say, and I love the way you did it too, is that you were talking about how when you were there, you end up you're going on your mission, the one you've been training on. And at the very last minute, they changed things on you.
Yeah, we trained for 3 years to do it a certain way, and at the last minute, so they changed everything, and we hit the beach. It was Paitilla Airfield, so it was right on the ocean in the middle of Panama City, in the Republic of Panama. And so we hit the jetty, and they knew we were coming. It was a lighted runway, and so we're running up the runway, and I got a little separation because I was the last one to get off the boat between me and the rest of my team, and there was a firefight that was happening between the bad guys in a hangar and our guys. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to be separated from my guys. I'm thinking, okay, my guys aren't going to shoot me, so I just went for it. I just ran the gauntlet, and I was a radioman. I weighed 140 pounds soaking wet. I was carrying 110 pounds of bullets, water, and radio, and I was high stepping it up that runway, and bullets were snapping past my head and skipping across the asphalt in front of me. And I remember thinking, I didn't stop or hesitate, but I remember thinking, I need to pick my feet up higher and faster. And I got through that. And then right when we got in the shooting had already started, and I could hear Lieutenant Connor, who was part of the OIC for Bravo platoon. He had gotten shot, and he's screaming, I'm hit. He's screaming in my ear, right in the radio. And then by the time we got up there, my job and this other guy, 60 gunner, were to keep an eye on the tower and the entrance to the runway. And that firefight was going on right across the street, right across the runway. And it was like the ground was shaking, right? There's so many. They had there was 3 platoons on line, and just all full on hammer down into this hangar. And then my officer comes, come on, let's go. And I come up on my roommate, Isaac Rodriguez, and he'd been shot. And he was shot in the lower part of his left chest, and we made direct eye contact. And it was like 220 volts of electricity running right through me. And but I didn't stop. My mission was, he already had the top corpsman, Mo Pettit was already a chief corpsman working on him. And I kept going, and we got to the skirmish line, and I'm like, right when we got on line, they called a ceasefire. And then the 60 gunner that was with me, as soon as he gets out, he starts lighting it up again. So they finally called a ceasefire, and it was like a bus accident. There was people laying everywhere. We had 4 dead and 8 wounded. Right.
And they actually made a movie about this event, and everything. And so and you then take this experience, you take all the experience that you had in the SEALs, you then end up retiring, coming out into civilian life. And because of the experience as a child, you started working with young men, right? Your experience.
Well, there was a couple things that happened. There was a church that I went to, and there's a guy named Scott Halveston who, he was a couple years younger than me, but he'd been in the SEAL teams. He was like the youngest Navy SEAL ever, and we were at SEAL Team 4 together. And he was just a muscle-bound brute. He was this CISM athlete. He was like the military Olympics, and and I helped him. I coached him in winning the East Coast Smoker in 1990, and he when I got to SEAL Team 4, or SEAL Team 1, he medically retired on that day, and then I ran into him a couple years later, and I had just got into I was a debt management consultant, and he had run up a bunch of debt. He had marketed a fitness video of him, and it was just him leading PT, right? So I got a little fluffy, and he gives me this video, and
a little fluffy.
I go. So I just do the workout. Oh, the next day, my arms were like petrified wood. And I go to this church, and they announce it in Navy. I was a Navy SEAL, and this guy comes up. What can we go work out? I'm like, not today. And I was really sore. But I'm thinking, that would be a good ministry. So I started doing these workouts Saturday mornings at the sports park in Imperial Beach, California. And these young kids come. I didn't know what they were expecting, but they got to see an old man do a lot of push-ups. And then I ended up in Edinburgh, Texas, and I was working out at the municipal park, and this police officer came up and told me that I should go talk to the JROTC kids at the high school. And Claudia Naola, she's the retired Army major that was running that. So it's been 5 years now, and usually like right before the Army Navy game, I'll do like 2 Fridays in a row. So I'll do a it's called a Navy SEAL Stretch PT. It's about 200 push-ups total, different, a bunch of different sets, different regular push-ups, tricep push-ups, dive arm push-ups, any-count bodybuilders, and crunches and flutter kicks and all that good stuff, what we do. And I'll do that twice a day, twice a day on 2 Fridays in a row. So I get all the classes, and it's just been a tradition for the last going on 5 years now.
So I'm going to share right here. Let's see here. So this is one of your teams, of course, and then let's see here.
That was me at graduation from SEAL training.
There you go. There you go. So
the guy next to me was the 60 gunner that was in Panama.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow. And then here's your love that. Okay, so now
that was Naval Special Warfare Unit 8 in Panama, right?
Then okay, so this is the kind of thing that
these are the kids in Edinburgh, the JRTC kids, right?
I love this. And so this is okay, because I had to ask when we were visiting before, and because I grew up in San Diego County, and so we had the let's see, ROTC. And so I was asking if it was the same kind of thing, and it is. It's the in high school they had those opportunities for people to to think about possibly going into the military, and so they have drills, and they get to learn all sorts of neat things. And that very similar to what this program is there?
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, ROTC is actually for in colleges. That's how they you get an ROTC scholarship, and you drill while you're going through college. But they have JROTC, which is at the high school level.
Okay.
It's the same thing, but at high school level, and you can earn scholarships, and they teach you history and military bearing and all that good stuff.
And so this is you working with these kids, and you've been doing this now how many years?
Well, this year will be 5 years.
5 years, and there you are. You're little. Do you still box?
Oh, I'm 57 years old. I got divorced from my first wife, and I went into the divorce rage workout routine. I was walking around about 185 pounds, and I wanted to get down to 160, and I did it in a month. after my wife left me, I just was working out 2 or 3 times a day. But I wasn't eating. I was eating my own cooking. I wasn't eating very healthy, and I was running like 50 miles a week, swimming. I was just, that's where I focused my energy. And then I was reaching for a box, and my shoulder popped out of my socket, and that was done. I was done for upper body workout. And then I got into the drone business, and my job was driving all over the country finding anybody that did anything with drones, and I was promoting a service used by the U.S. military drones to do data management and image processing. And so I was eating, fast food. I joke around that I had an assigned seat at Golden Corral. I moved to Dallas in May, and it was getting real hot, and I went for a 6-mile run, which should have been nothing, but I got halfway out, and my knee started bothering me, and my hands started swelling up, my feet started swelling up, and I couldn't run anymore. So I started I just was walking, but I started getting pretty heavy, and then one of my Navy SEAL buddies, we were in Persian Gulf together, and we were in Panama together. He got medically retired. He got into a parachute accident, had a compound fracture of his tibia and his fibia, but he was a very great marksman. So he started teaching a business, training Navy SEALs how to shoot better, and it was called Blackwater. And he hired this guy named Prince, who actually got the job that I was supposed to get when I got out of the Navy, teaching marksmanship training to Fleet Training Center San Diego. And they started farming out guys to do executive protection and convoy protection in Iraq and Afghanistan. And my buddy Al Clark was getting royalties, but he stopped working out, and he got big, and he was 2 years younger than me. He had a heart attack, and we had the same officer for 2 platoons, and that guy called me up and told me what happened. Then he asked me how I was doing. I told him, and he got my dish. He scolded me like not too many people could get away with, but I respected him, right? And so I started going to, after work every day, I would go to Planet Fitness there in North Dallas, and this 22-year-old kid would torture me Monday through Thursday, but he got me to the point I could do 10 pull-ups on a row. So Fridays, I would start doing the calisthenic Navy SEAL stretch PT, and I do 10 pull-ups when I started, 10 pull-ups when I left. I lost some weight, got more functional, and then I moved to Mercedes, Texas, and there was a famous boxing trainer down the road, Ray Wirt, that trained like 3 world champions that were managed by Andrew Dundee, and and he liked what I was doing. He made a deal with me. If I trained the kids, I could work out there for free. And so I liked doing it. And I started stepping on my workout, and I got more functional. And then I moved to Edinburgh, Texas, and there was another boxing gym a mile down the road. They made the same deal with me. And I would sprint every other set of telephone poles on the way to the gym and back every night for a year, started stepping on my workouts. And then I was 55 years old, sparring with 28-year-olds and have my way with them. But that's the last time I sparred.
And so, all right, so now today is Wednesday, September the 9th. Friday, we're going to be again looking at 9/11, and I asked you about this. I asked what happened on 9/11. You had already retired as a
I didn't retire. End of my enlistment, I just got out.
You were out. You were out. So you were out of the Navy. 9/11 takes place. What did you think?
Well, I was in the mortgage and real estate business in California, and on that day, I had 4 loans in escrow that were going to sign, and I was taking my first listing, and it was really hard to stay focused, man. And my broker at the time was another Navy SEAL. He calls me in his office like, "Okay, I'm gassing up the motorhome. We're going to go up to the mountains, and have you stocked up on supplies?" I'm like, "Well, dude, I got 4 escrows closing today, and I'm not taking a listing." He goes, "Oh yeah, that's right." And but I decided I was going to go back into sleep, and I emailed everybody that I knew and let them know. And then Roy Jones Jr., who was filming Matrix 2, had just landed in Australia, and we emailed each other back and forth like 11 times, and he talked me out of it. And he said, "You probably do better for your family and the country, keeping up with your business." And so that's what I did.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say thank you again. The fact that you were even open to going back in, and that
I was mad.
Right. I'm sure you were. A lot of us were, sure. And talk about that a little bit more. I'd like to hear. You were mad. I would love to hear a little bit more.
Oh, well, it was so hard to stay focused on what I had to do because that was, I mean, I just wanted to go, let's go, let's get, I know the whole routine, getting, going through the workup and getting ready to go and you know, go tear things up, right?
Right. Right.
I'd been in that region before, I was an Intel rep, my first platoon, so I knew about the Iranian shipyards and Parsi Island and the platforms. I didn't know too much about Afghanistan. Where Iraq at that time, Iraq was on our side back when I was there the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Things change, right? But it was I've had I get disability because I break out in shingles every time one of my buddies gets killed in Iraq or Afghanistan. And most people get shingles like one time in their life. I've had it like 7 times. Luckily most of my buddies are retired. They're not doing that. They're not doing the job anymore, right?
So now, going forward, you are helping people right now, to think in terms of their finances and those type of things. You were talking about the fact that you had been through the debt, working with the finances and taking care of the debt. And now you are out there helping people to be able to be not only healthy in their bodies, but be healthy in multiple different areas of their lives. And that is one of the areas, right?
Yeah, when I got out of the SEAL team, my income dropped off to like half of what I was making on active duty. And my wife at the time, she was handling the finances, and she's like, "The creditors keep calling me." And I'm like, "Hey, well, tell them I'll pay them when I get the money." She said, "But they don't listen." I'm like, "Well, tell them to pack sand." And she couldn't do that, so I did it. And then I realized that I didn't know enough, and so I started self-educating. And she actually bought me this book, 2 books, because they had boxing gloves on them. Breaking the Power of Debt and Rapid Debt Reduction Strategies by John Evanzini. And the Breaking the Power of Debt is a bigger book, and it's basically tying into the supernatural, really making that commitment, deep prayer and to dedicating yourself to get out of debt. And then that rapid debt reduction strategies is just, debt roll up strategy and some negotiating tactics with your creditors. And I implemented that. And this is back before QuickBooks and all that. I had a whiteboard behind my bedroom door with all my debts on there, and every time I made payments, I'd like change the balances and start. Once you pay out that first debt, you take that amount and you add it to the payment for the next debt, and you just keep rolling it. And I started making more money and saving that money. And then next thing you know, I'm out of debt. I've got money in the bank, and so I started adding a paper as a debt management consultant. And it was this company. It was like a group interview. There's all guys with like mortgage, real estate, PNC, life and health licenses. Been way more experience than I had. But when the guys started talking about what they were doing, taking a mortgage refinance and consolidating strategic debt that created the largest margin of savings, and then with the rest of the debt, implementing the debt roll-up strategy and consumer credit counseling, debt settlement strategies to pay everything off, including mortgage as little as 5 to 10 years without increasing monthly payments. But because I read all those books, I could explain. I knew just what he was talking about. Everybody else went way over their head, and I was the only one that raised my hand. And it was straight commission, and they paid you a $50 bonus for every signed loan application with income documentation and a check and appraisal you brought in. And I needed $600 to pay the rent, so I brought in 12 applications that first month. And got my rent paid for, but then 10 of those loans funded, and I made, twice as much money as I ever made in 1 month of my whole life. And they made me the manager. And at that time, there were other guys that were life and health licensed, and they were showing people by how taking some of that margin of savings and putting it away to a tax advantage vehicle for retirement. The same time they're paying down their debt, they're building that thing for retirement. But every time I showed somebody how to get out of debt, they start looking at buying a house. So I got my real estate license, and I started off in mortgages. And I was one of those guys that I could take somebody that other loan officers would turn them down. I could take them and give them a little counsel, and they say, no, I'm getting them on a budget. They're saving some money, disputing the derogatories on their credit, getting their scores up. They say, no, I'm getting them in a house,
right,
or their loan. And but I knew they weren't going to make it to retirement. And I didn't like what was going on in the mortgage business with the option. The broker that was a Navy SEAL guy, he went to law school, had an MBA, and he taught me how to figure the truth in lending and good faith estimate down to the penny. And talking about, he showed the recast after 13 months on those option arms, that your payment's going to go way up, okay, because you got to pay off that capitalized interest. Well, you're not paying by paying that minimum 1%, right? And so I would chase people away. And then they'd come out with the no income documentation. You set the fog and mirror and you get a loan. And I just didn't think that was sustainable. So I started doing more construction. They were bigger loans, more serious people. But that got hit in 2006.
Right. So now let's just look at this right now. Right now, you are a full circle type of person in that you now, with the experience that you had as a SEAL and the training that you had and the nutrition, you learned the nutrition piece. You're really into that. Right. You now understand, and you have worked in the financial services world. You're still in that. You are now also inspiring the youth to then and working with them and helping them to understand the physicalness and to be healthy, and that is all encompassing, because we're really making the case right now that you're a service hero. You've been, yes, out there and on amazing missions, and you actually were a hero for our country. Now you are out there helping others, in the kids, on social media, where you've been stepping up with, even, you go live, you're helping others to be motivated to get out there and move during this time that.
Well, so here's the tie-in, okay? The Transamerica, who's one of our carriers, they're not, I'm not like they're one of them. I have like 300 different product providers I can choose from, but we do a lot with Transamerica. They came up with this wealth and health community, and I got excited about it. I looked it up. It was a bulletin board. It had threads like fitness, nutrition, budgeting, debt management, stress, retirement, and then they had a webinar, and the rep said, we were trying to focus on two people that were good producers and savers, but they didn't keep up with their health. Right, so even though they can afford to go on vacation, and when they retire, they can't because of their health, or if they do, all they're going to do on vacation is eat at the buffet. And then the other group were guys that they did a good job keeping themselves fit, but they didn't do such a good job saving. Right, and they train like professional athletes, but they don't get paid like professional athletes. And so they have to pay to work out, and they're spending a lot of time doing that. They're not. So putting the two together would help bring both of them up. Right. Well, that didn't seem to do so well. But here's what I found out. And we do with this financial foundation, and the baseline is protection, okay, and then debt, and then emergency fund, and then investments, right? Well, if somebody doesn't have their debt together, you can't talk to them about emergency fund or investments. It doesn't. The debt is weighing on them too much, okay, and so you got to deal with that, right? But below that, it's like when you build a house, right? There's part of your foundation is below the ground, okay? And you see, if you don't have, there's a direct correlation between nutrition and mental health.
Yes.
Okay. And I started noticing my confidence come back, and I correlated that. Somebody explained to me, somebody very smart. She's a computational biologist, lives in San Diego. She published a paper on the human genome, and she explained to me this. All right, and I'm like, oh wow. that happened right about the time. There's a store called Reuben's Grocery here in McAllen, Texas, that have world famous superfoods, right? And I started using their superfoods. I started eating. I gave up my assigned seed of Golden Corral. I started eating more whole, green, leafy proteins. All right, and my confidence started coming back. I'm like, oh, there's a connection here, right? Right. So basically, but there's even a greater tie-in, and it's the faith side. I read my scriptures every day. Last year I read the Bible straight through from Genesis to Revelations, and I would do a commentary on what I read every day. And then this year I've been reading the same chapter every day in Genesis, Psalms, and Proverbs every day. So I'm on chapter 9, okay, and every day I get a new different revelation out of it, right? But I'm making it part of my subconscious, right? And what's interesting that happens is I'm attracting, certain type of people, a lot of pastors, a lot of ministry leaders. Okay, a big part of that, and down here, this has been the most obese region of the country for a decade or more, and the highest rate of diabetes. And I joke around, I got a bunch of fluffy pastor buddies. I've been trying to, get them to work out with me, and I had a couple of them that were right, but nobody's sticking with it, right? And then this whole coronavirus thing happened, and the social. So what I started doing is at 5:30 in the morning on Fridays and on Saturday and on Monday mornings, I do my Navy SEAL stretch PT, and people. I got one guy in Indiana that joins me, and it's just a riot, right? And then on Wednesdays, yoga, and I'm not flexible at all, but I need to do that. I'm having knee issues because I don't stretch enough, but I pull up a yoga video on YouTube, and then I do the stretches, and then on Tuesdays and Thursday, I do a boxing workout. It's just jump and rope, and some high intense shadow boxing. I don't have a heavy bag in my apartment, but just trying to create a culture, and not have it dependent on the gyms, right?
Right.
They want me to put a mask on, and I got PTSD, and it triggers me putting a mask on. I hate it.
Right.
It's better. It's worse for everybody else when I'm triggered because I get real hostile.
And so right now you have been going live and you're encouraging others. You have been out there, and if someone wanted to join you, like you're saying, you do these different ones and some people are joining you, you want them to, don't you? So you're saying, hey, yeah, if you want to go live with me, or you want to get healthy, you want to get out there, you want to move, you want to stretch, you want to do yoga, you want to any of those things, you're open to having them go and join you, correct?
Yeah, my pastor is kind of my pastor was a millionaire when he was 23 years old, and he made his money. His dad was a pastor, and when the government came out with these licensing for broadcasting for churches, his dad just sucked them all up. And then what his job as a young man was to set up these churches with the broadcast stations, and he just was working, and next thing you know, his accountant says, you know what you're worth, and he was a millionaire. And so he's got a lot of marketing experience. So I asked him if he would help me. And so I have a website now, ReubenLowing.com. All right. And I post when the workouts are up. I put on the Zoom link. All right. So, and then we do other things, he wanted me to charge for my workouts. And so I'm charging for the workout, but the first month is free. You can work out with me for a month, and it doesn't cost you anything, right? And then there's things that I do, with my business. If I sit down with you and we look at your finances and see if there's a way we can help you, you know what? That'll cover the rest of your subscription to the workouts, right? So
there you go.
Right. So incentive to do the things. And here's the thing. I do these workshops all the time. I actually was sitting on the Zoom with a buddy of mine in San Diego, and I knew he was doing okay. He's a real smart guy into technology, and I started showing him, some of the strategies. He's going, "Wow, If I'd have known that, I'd have $4 million now instead of $2 million. Right.
There you go. And so
Right.
now that as we are closing the show right now, what I want you to be able to do is to, again, it is your name, right? ReubenLoewen.com. That's as easy as it is, right?
Yeah, REUBEN, like the sandwich. I used to hate that when I was a kid, but people remember it. And then Lowing, LOWING, just like you got here, right? And
right.
you know what? I grew up in Michigan. I was the only Reuben, and then I came down here, the Rio Grande Valley. Everybody, Reuben's like John. They just leave that.
Well, there you go. Well, Reuben, you know, I want to say again, thank you. Thank you for everything that you have done. The service hero that you really are, you truly are an American hero, and your story needs to be told, and it needs to be told again. And I am going to make sure that we get the link and put it in here into the comments, into the clip that we, for some reason, were not able to share because it's really
on my website.
Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. Go to the website. You guys will be able to see it because it shows his medals. It shows so much more. I really want to honor you for what you have done for our country and what you continue to do for our kids, for our health, for our body health, our financial health, and for spiritual health. You are all about that. You are truly an example of what a service hero is all about. And I want to say thank you for that, Reuben.
Well, the last thing, you know, this whole pandemic, if everybody was as focused on their fitness and nutrition as they are about wearing masks, we wouldn't have this pandemic. You know, I mean, it just, you know, that's, you know, it's hitting those people that, you know, they got
right, because it's the health and wellness and everything. And so really, I want to encourage everybody. And in fact, that's how we met, because of hashtag time to move. Hashtag time to move. Guys, this is a free thing. We are doing it just to get people to get out or to move in your house, be moving your body, be getting unstuck during this period of time. And we have so many people that have joined us throughout the world. So I want to say again, thank you for being here, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Tamara. You made my day.
Well, you made ours too. All right, everyone, please do go to his site, watch that video. I really want you to, because it touched me in such a way, and I want you all to have that experience too. All right. See you guys on Friday. Friday is going to be a very special show, 9/11, and we have someone that actually has made a huge difference because of that experience of that day. So you want to be here on Friday, noon Pacific, 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern. See you then. Bye.